Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you.
This is going to be the first podcast of CNE, or Cougar News Entertainment. So I would like to first introduce myself. My name is David Caduto. I basically want to first of all, I have to go into saying thank you to the USA Today entertainment team, because they were the ones that gave me the inspiration for this. So that being said, let me reintroduce myself again. We're all movie buffs here, but I'm David Caduto, and
I am Nick Vaverka. My Twitter handle is just at Nick Vaverka. NickVaverka.
My name is Aaron Lanuza, and I actually will have to get my Twitter handle later on in the show.
Okay, so
I'll be honest, I don't use Twitter all that much.
Okay, so we'll figure something out.
But I'll figure it out.
So,
neither do I.
The big, I had a couple of three main topics we wanted to touch upon today. The first was the juggernaut known as Star Wars, and Nick, you are the expertise man on that.
Yes, this doesn't translate well into podcast, but I'm wearing my Darth Vader hoodie, so I came prepared.
I saw it opening night. It was great.
Yes, it was. Second of all, we're going to be talking about the 2016 Oscar nominations that just got released almost last week. And finally, we're going to be touching upon the upcoming movies for 2016, the ones we're really, really excited to see.
Yeah.
So let's say this first of all. Star Wars was, I think we can all agree, amazing.
I loved it.
So
did you see it at midnight, David?
No, I didn't. And
you didn't.
I will let you have the floor for a little bit, because you are the Star Wars expert.
Well,
what did you think of it?
First of all, just what I thought of it. I thought it was what it needed to be. I really enjoyed this movie. And I remember, it feels so long ago now when they first released the trailer for The Force Awakens. God, back like Thanksgiving 2014, and I was like, oh my God, I have to wait an entire year for this movie. It's just something that I've been following, like on like subreddits and internet, like any information I could get about this movie, I would try to find. And now it's finally out. And
Kylo's lightsaber.
Yeah, the lightsaber. It's funny because everybody hated the lightsaber at first, and then now everybody's like, "Oh, it's the coolest lightsaber ever." I've seen it twice so far, and I want to go see it again, because the first time I watched it, I just really had to sort of soak it in and absorb it. I loved the look of it. I loved how there were so many callbacks to the old films. Just the style of the costumes and the ships, and everybody. They always talked about, in making this film, the emphasis on real, like, practical effects as opposed to CG.
Exactly.
That's not to say that not to say there wasn't CG in the movie, but the CG that was done, I thought it was done well. And I do now the main criticism of the film is that it's very much basically like Star Wars: A New Hope, like the original '77 film.
Well, I think we can all three agree that Star Wars: A New Hope was successful for basically the fact that not only did it have the effects, because that's what put Star Wars on the map, among other things, but it had the storyline. And I think the story, going back to 1977, that whole storyline, we wanted to see that. And I think even today, going to see it for myself, that within the first 15 minutes, I could already tell it was going to follow the same template, which was great. I didn't have a problem with that. So that being said,
and it's a simple, relatable story about, you've got just sort of a lonely kid on a planet yearning for something more. There's a bigger picture out there. They finally get off that rock and move on.
Exactly, and I think that was the big thing.
And you get to follow his footsteps.
Exactly, and I think that was the big thing that people, they enjoy it. I mean, they enjoy, my theory is when you go back 20 or 30 years and everything comes back around. Yeah. So I think that was the big thing.
Yeah, and I think I think the filmmakers wanted to create something that people were familiar with, that they could come back to and say, like, oh yeah, like I remember this is what I liked about Star Wars, this is what I loved about Star Wars. And now that they brought everybody back into the Star Wars universe, they can now say with, episodes 8 and 9 and the future films, they're free to do whatever they want, basically.
They wanted to pay montage first before they brought new characters in so that they could finally overlap and create something new.
Absolutely.
For the next two movies.
And I think it was a good throwback to the fact that we were able to see some of our favorites.
I thought Harrison Ford was great.
Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill. So, I mean, the fact that,
and they've set up Mark Hamill for so much more. Because he only shows up at the very end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Just
spoiler
a minute,
alert.
Just a minute of
he
his
shows up
showtime.
at the end, and by the way, Han does die, but we'll get to that in a couple minutes. But the fact is, I thought the last shot of Luke standing on the cliff was so significant, A, because it was an amazing shot, but more importantly was you now see him. You finally have seen him, even if it was only for a small time, and what is to come.
Yeah, what the storyline could be.
Exactly. And now that I think all of us know, episode 8 is now written. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they go forward.
Yeah, he could be training Rey on the planet.
Well, and that was the thing. Now, let me ask you guys another question here. This upcoming year, and we'll get to upcoming movies in a little bit, but Rogue One now is going to be coming out at the end of this year. So this is going to be the first standalone film for Star Wars. How do we think it's going to do?
It kind of seems like it's been not pushed under the rug, but I think all the hype and presence of The Force Awakens has kind of pushed it under, and people don't really know about it.
Right. And I think the other thing is that this is going to be interesting for two reasons. Number one, we've never had a standalone Star Wars film. Okay? Also in the works is going to be a younger Han Solo and how he came to be a smuggler film. So that ought to be fun. And number two, do we really want to know about these pilots? I mean, we want to know, yes, they blow up the Death Star, but to me, how are they going to translate that into a 2-hour film?
Well, what I think is going to be interesting is number one of the things I'm most excited about is, because I mean, technically, it's a prequel, but it's not in terms of like trilogy.
It's a very in-between story.
It literally takes place between episodes 3 and 4, and what I'm excited for, story aside, is seeing like old school stormtroopers, the Death Star. We'll probably see Darth Vader, because all those characters and those things were around during that time.
Right. Now, Vader was rumored to make an appearance, so we'll see how much we see of him.
But I think it'll be a very different kind of Star Wars film. I know. Is it Gareth Edwards who's doing it?
I believe so.
And Gareth Edwards, I think, just did the Godzilla with Bryan Cranston.
Yes.
About 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be more like a war film, is what they're kind of saying. Very like gritty, like just kind of a whole different side to Star Wars that we haven't seen before.
So that will be fascinating, because we're used to seeing like a love story to a certain extent, and we're seeing training is, so how is that going to translate into revenue for them? Especially because it's going to be, I'm going to say, over $100 million to make. So how do we,
I think it'll be fun. It sounds like a cool, because the whole plot is they're going to steal the Death Star plans.
Right.
So it sounds like a cool kind of heist.
Exactly. And maybe, and I don't know, this is just the thinking, we might actually see Mark Hamill in this.
I mean, how can you not?
How could you though? Because he's not involved at that point.
Right, but at the same time, and this is just me talking now, but I think it would be interesting to see Luke maybe 20 years after the fact, and I could be totally wrong.
Or maybe they could be like on Tatooine and have like a bump in with him, accidentally or something.
So that's yet to be determined. We do know Episode 8 is written, so when this comes out in 2017, that will be taking it a step further. Now, I've got to say something, though. We're only a month removed. Star Wars The Force Awakens was released December 18th of last year. We're only a month removed, and this movie has made, wait for it, almost $1 billion domestically. That's passing Titanic. That's passing Avatar. That's passing some of the biggest films of all time. Why do you think that is, though? I mean, we know hype. We got
definitely,
that.
Definitely hype was one of them.
How?
It's a franchise.
People love Star Wars.
People love Star Wars, but
it just taps into something.
I think that's the thing. This is only one of the I believe the third film ever to make $200 million in its first weekend. Now, for me personally, pre-sales, I'm not a fan of pre-sales. Just because, to me, you go to the box office Friday through Sunday, okay. But this made $55 million in pre-sales. So you have to wonder what episode 8 and 9 down the road.
You think they can surpass that, or do you think,
possibly,
or do you think by that point people be like, all right, yeah, it's just another Star Wars?
I possibly, because you have to. It's a machine. You have to keep feeding the machine, and the machine here is the consumer. You see all the merchandising out right now, and that's, let's face it, that's why Lucas was owns $4 billion, because he sold it to Disney. Which, by the way, some of his comments were not the swiftest, and he's retracted them. But I think a lot of people, especially Disney, are glad he's not in the picture anymore.
I think what happened with George Lucas in the prequels was maybe not enough people said no to him, so he just kind of had free reign to do whatever he wanted, which is what George Lucas had always wanted to do ever since he started making films.
It was his story. It was his baby.
Yeah, it was his story, and ever since he started making movies, he was always the kind of guy who was like, I don't want studios telling me what to do. I want to go out and make my own movie.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe he did that, and then people were kind of like, I'm not a big fan of what you did here, what you did there. Maybe not enough people were keeping him in check.
Well, he pulled apart episode 4 through 6 whenever he brought them back, right?
Yeah, he did every time. Yeah, that's another thing. He's notorious for taking his own films and reworking them and adding things. And
I don't mind a little.
Some of the changes are okay, but
some of them were good.
It's funny because when he did it, I think he did it back in like '97, and so even like '97 computer graphics haven't aged that well. So it kind of looks funny going back watching. It was like, this stuff from like '97 doesn't fit in from stuff with '77. It's just kind of a strange. It's just kind of a strange look.
Well, for a generational thing, I mean, for the younger generation, I'm 40 years old, but I love watching South Park. So it's like watching this episode of South Park where the kids are trying to stop George Lucas and Steven Spielberg for the re-release of, Indiana Jones and all of his films, and Spielberg says, no, we're not going to do that. But no, to your point though, I think that eventually changes are good, but when you start to make too many of them, that's when people start to say, okay, enough's enough.
Yeah.
So I think, and the other thing is, I think after 2018, when episode 9 does get released, I think that needs to be it. I think.
No, you don't think they'll try to?
No, because and like I said, I remember going to see Star Wars when I was 2, and so when I heard in '99 they were coming out with a new one, I went okay, and now they're coming out with another one. To me, it ended with episode 6.
Yeah,
that's just me personally.
So even in '99, you were like, huh? Like, okay.
But see, I didn't mind knowing the story of Darth Vader. I wanted to see how he progressed. But the fact is that now we know the story of Vader. Okay, what is there left? We saw everything come full circle in Jedi, so we'll see how that transpires. But I will say one thing: I'm shocked, truly shocked, of all the publicity and popularity of it. I'm shocked that Star Wars: The Force Awakens did not get a Best Picture nomination.
I'm not shocked. I don't think a Star Wars movie could have. Well, first of all, did I think Force Awakens was a good movie?
Do I think it deserved a Best Picture nomination? Probably not. Popularity-wise,
I don't even think it deserved a nomination. I don't know. It'd be tough if I think a film like Empire Strikes Back, and I don't know if it was nominated or not, but to me that is a film that, if you were to pick any of the Star Wars films, could be considered.
Winkler did an absolutely amazing job with that film. And then back in the day in '81, I believe it was, that was the top of the line for them. And graphics aside, or CGI aside, he had a lot to, do and everything else. But no, I agree with you.
Because that's just a great, in terms of like if you throw away sci-fi and all that stuff, I just think it's a great movie.
I think we can all agree. Personally, I think out of the episodes 4 through 6, I think Empire's the best one for me.
Yeah.
I think you're in agreement, Aaron?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is a good movie. For The Force Awakens, though, it's definitely coming back to its origins from the last couple movies.
Because all the performances in The Force Awakens I thought were fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny because you look at the prequels and you've got actors, you've got Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
You have all these great actors, and none of them shine.
Yeah.
The performances are very stiff, very awkward, and I think with the exception of Ian McDiarmid, who plays the Emperor, he's like the only he does great in those.
He did do a good job.
Yeah, but I think maybe that boils down to to maybe just JJ is a good director and he knows how to bring those emotions out of people.
Yeah.
'Cause I thought Adam Driver as Kylo Ren was great.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the other thing too. We got to see Kylo Ren without his mask. Now, we don't ever get to see, and there's so many differences and similarities we could get into, but one of the big things is we never got to see Darth Vader without his mask until the very end of Jedi. And about a third of the way through, we get to see who Kylo Ren is.
I think they should have left him without the mask, or they should have kept him a secret for a while, at least his presence, just to keep that ominous
I think
feeling.
the secret is, who is he related to? And that's the $64,000 question. We know he's
he's Han and Leia's kid.
Yeah.
He's been Solo.
Right. Yes. Now, then the other question becomes, who is
Rey?
Rey.
So that's the question.
That's going to be the other dynamic that's yet to be.
I have a suspicion, and there's no way to know
Yeah.
this, but I don't know. I have this feeling like her and Kylo are related somehow.
Probably brother and sister.
Because there's lots of juxtaposition. Even if you look at the poster, it's always like them featured prominently,
Exactly.
and then like the end scene when like the ground splits and like they had that whole fight, and I don't know. I feel like that they will be. We're gonna see a lot more of the two of them together.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's Luke Skywalker's kid.
Yeah,
I really do. I
tend
think
to
she
agree
is.
with him. I mean, if you saw how old he looked at the end of the film, you could probably say, okay, well, 18 to 20, okay, yeah. So I mean but that's yet to be determined. Moving on, Oscar nominations just came out this last week.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get up at 5 o'clock to watch it, but I did write an article about it, and I think that it was very interesting, to say the least. I think a lot of them were not. We knew what a lot were going to be, but there were a couple surprises and snubs. And I thought one of the biggest snubs, I went to see Black Mass in the theater.
I thought that was a big snub too.
And I thought that was amazing. The Academy did not nominate him. And because Johnny Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean, I've never seen, but I've seen him in other
You've never
movies.
seen Pirates of the Caribbean?
I know.
My God.
I know.
What is
How
wrong
can I
with
call
you?
myself
What is wrong with you?
I know. How can I call myself?
Have you not seen that
movie fan?
classic film, Pirates of the Caribbean?
But his portrayal as Whitey Bulger was, have both of you have seen The Departed?
Of course, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a great. I recommend it. Yeah, very good. That won Best Picture that year, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It's funny because Scorsese's done all these great films, and yet.
Yeah.
Okay, I digress because Jack Nicholson. Spoiler alert! In case you haven't seen it, it's the fact that there is a good twist to it. But nonetheless, I think Johnny Depp played a better Whitey Bulger than.
But that character, the one that Nicholson played, wasn't outright Whitey Bulger. It was just very heavily based on Whitey Bulger.
You never knew that.
Yeah.
I think he went through a huge transformation, and his character just being so different than the Whitey Bulger.
Right.
I think like for him to have changed his eye color, the way that he looks completely.
Hair and makeup was amazing.
It was good,
really
but he was a different person. I think that was one of the reasons why.
And the veracity played the character.
It wasn't his.
And that, I think, especially the scene where they're sitting across from the dinner table.
Oh, that was intense.
So
I was holding
he
my heart.
basically was saying, the steak is amazing. What's in the steak? And he said, there's a little bit of ginger and soy. He's like, well, you gave up the secret. He says, well, what are you doing? What else could you give up? And he's like, oh, by the way, I'm just messing with you. So, it makes you think like, oh my God, this guy's really a psychopath. So, but getting back to it, I thought Johnny Depp should have been nominated.
Whitey, I'm sort of digressing here,
fine.
but Whitey Bulger is from Boston, right?
Correct, yes.
And now you are from Boston.
Yes.
When you grew up, did you grow up there during
that
time?
Funny because when I grew up, Whitey Bulger was one of those names. He's been on the top 10 list before he got captured out here in California for almost 25 years. And he was one of those names synonymous with gangsters. You had Al Capone, you had the Cray brothers, you had all of these guys, and basically you knew what he did, okay? But because he was like a Robin Hood to South Boston, it was like, okay, well, we can let it go. And the whole thing was that his brother, Billy, okay, ran the University of Massachusetts and was one of the public figures.
Yeah.
So how do you not know? And Billy didn't want to do anything to give his brother up because I'm sure he probably talked to him. But so at the same time, it was like, okay. So I think that to answer your question, he was out there. He did a lot of good, but at the same time, he had free reign over Boston. He could do whatever he wanted, and as the film displayed, basically that nobody could touch him. Until somebody, the new SAC, the special agent in charge, came in and said, okay, wait a minute, we have to put a stop to this. This guy is killing people at random, taking over Boston, and finally, that is at the end of the film. That's when he says, okay, I need to go. And he went on the run for several years. Johnny Depp, like I said, played an amazing character, didn't get nominated. I was shocked. That being said, when you look at the 5 characters, the 5 people that were nominated, Bryan Cranston for Trumbo, Eddie Raymer won for last year for
Theory of Everything.
The Theory of Everything. You have Michael Fassbender, who, I'm sorry, I was in awe. When I saw Steve Jobs and David Fincher and what he did, I was mesmerized. Now, of course, we know
much better than the Ashton Kutcher Steve Jobs. But it's funny because Ashton Kutcher he had the look of Steve Jobs.
Beard.
He looked just like Steve Jobs, but that movie,
It wasn't believable.
it just wasn't that good of a film. It was. I didn't think it was bad, but I think that this one was much better.
And the fact is that, I mean, we know David Fincher from Seven and The Social Network and all these other quality films. So when I sat down, I was excited for this. When he came in, one of the last scenes, and he came back to Apple, I mean, there were so many good things with this film, but when he stepped through those doors and you saw him, and he had the haircut, and he had the glasses, and he had the black turtleneck, and I went, oh my God, it's really Steve Jobs. You could have Googled his face, and it was just amazing how well he did. But the other thing about that too was they showed the human side of him too. He had a daughter, but he didn't really want to take responsibility for him.
Yeah.
That being said, so you had Michael Fassbender, and by the way, on a side note, one of the upcoming films I'm curious to see in 2016. A lot of people aren't talking about this. Is Assassin's Creed. Now this comes out in December.
I forgot about that.
And Assassin's Creed, in case you're not aware, it's a Ubisoft video game.
Very good game,
it's
too.
about a man who basically goes into this experiment, and his memories are transported back in time to the Templar days of 1500s, and he basically tries to right the wrongs of the Catholic Church. And Michael Fassbender is playing the lead, and we just saw a couple of photographs that came out this last week about him. And wow, let me tell you. Now, is it going to be as bloody as the video games are? Maybe, maybe not, because they want to probably keep this at a PG level, PG-13 level, so the kids will say, oh, let's go see this. I'll be curious to see how that happens. Back to that, you had so Michael Fassbender, you had Eddie Raymond, you had
Cranston, Trumbo.
Cranston.
Oh, DiCaprio. You love DiCaprio.
And DiCaprio, I think this is his year.
Okay, but do you say
Finally,
that just because
coming back?
Do you say that just because everyone's like, oh, DiCaprio, he's never won,
well,
the best actor.
and that's part of it.
Is he actually deserved? Because I haven't seen the Red Man.
I haven't either, and that's my disclaimer. I want to go this week and see it, but this to me, I can't stress how big this of a role this is for him. And you say, well, he's been nominated before and he hasn't won. Right, but you look at the performances he was up against. And as I said in my piece, I said any other year, this would have been Fassbender's or year to win or anybody else. But the fact is, this is his year. This is his 5th nomination. He's getting up there. Not in age. I think he's like 38, 39. But the fact is, every single performance he puts in now, it's Oscar worthy.
Would you say that it has to do with his past performances leading up to this point?
I
or
think
is it
he's
this
gotten
performance
better
itself?
as an actor. If you look at his complete and total body of work since the Basketball Diaries way back when, Who's Eating Gilbert Grape,
Yeah.
okay, to today, what he's done as an actor is unbelievable. He got nominated for the Aviator. Okay, he didn't win. It was a hell.
He did a great
Really
job
good
in that
job.
movie.
Yeah,
I
it was
love
a
Did a
good
hell
that
of a
movie.
performance as Howard Hughes. He got nominated in The Departed. He didn't win. As we all know, that won Best Picture. He's gotten several other nominations and has come up that short. I think the fact that this is a true story, okay, and that's a whole other podcast from another time.
He poured a lot
But
into that too.
The fact is that true stories are now the in thing in Hollywood. There were 16 movies that were made from true stories last year. And I don't know the number is going to be in 2016, but it's going to be quite a bit, and that's a whole different thing. But I think that the fact that he is nominated, and for a fifth time, I think definitely, to me, I don't know how Bryan Cranston gets nominated, because Johnny Depp should have gotten in there, and Will Smith should have gotten in there.
Well,
Concussion was, when you're able to transform yourself into another person, like Morgan Freeman did into Nelson Mandela in Invictus, and he didn't win because Jeff Bridges won for Crazy Heart. The fact is that you are able. He got his mannerisms down. He got the language down. He had everything around him to get nominated, and I think that he should have been, but nonetheless, I think that to answer your question, I think this is DiCaprio's year. The fact that he may never get nominated again, and I think the Academy is saying, okay, this is your year.
Yeah.
And I think this is the Reverend's year. This is nominated now for 12 Oscars.
Yes.
Well, that director, and I always flub his name, Alejandro
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, he won for Birdman last year. But I don't think he should get Best Director this year. I think Best Director should go to George Miller, because I thought Mad Max. I loved Mad Max.
The
way that
funny thing is,
it was beautiful.
From a logistical standpoint, I don't know how you film a movie like that.
Yeah, and see, I watched the first 20 minutes of them, and I just said, I don't know. I just can't.
No?
I have to sit down and watch the whole thing.
Have you seen the original ones with Mel Gibson?
Because I guess it's just not my genre. But nonetheless, I will go back and I will sit down and watch it.
I just thought it was beautifully done.
Okay,
It looked crisp.
Yeah.
The scenes.
So
how do you film from that?
And they were out there driving real cars, blowing up real trucks,
in real
the
deserts,
motorcycle
mind you.
scenes.
swinging everybody.
They were, yeah.
I mean,
They were really fun.
And it's a very simple movie structure too. And Tom Hardy barely speaks any lines. I mean, Charlize Theron's like the real hero of the film.
right.
But I thought it was.
By the way, I should say, speaking of Tom Hardy, I should say that he did get nominated for The Reverend, and he has a chance to win Best Supporting Actor. And there are a lot of this is another good year for competition. Will he win? I don't know. I mean, I think Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, for Creed.
For Creed, I think this is going to be his year, and I watched the Golden Globes a few weeks ago, and the fact that he was genuinely surprised and appreciative that he won a Golden Globe. This was the first time in almost 35 years he'd won a Golden Globe, dating all the way back to Rocky.
Where it was for the picture, though.
But he
technically didn't win himself.
So he didn't win himself as an actor. I think this is his year, and I think they won't call it a Lifetime Achievement Award, but I think this is like a Lifetime Achievement Award.
I think so too.
And so it's like, okay, we'll give you your. I mean, this would be.
But Creed was a
It
great
was
good
good. It was
film.
very
Yes.
strong,
Yeah.
very well made.
And Michael B. Jordan should add. He's an upcoming actor.
Yeah.
I mean, last year
Fruitvale Station, right?
Fruitvale Station a couple of years ago. He's in Creed now. Let's face it, he was in the
Fantastic flop.
Exactly, that's the perfect way to describe it, Nick. Because
Which one was that?
yeah,
Fantastic Four.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was. I thought that Marvel, I don't know what happened with that movie. I mean, I love Kate Mara,
That
and I love
that
everything
movie
about
was
it.
kind of
but
flawed from the beginning.
Well, see,
from
to
everything
me-
I read.
yeah, to me, I'm a fan of the first Fantastic Four with Michael Chiklis and
Are you, though?
Jessica Alba. Oh no, I loved it. I'll be honest.
Chris
Compared
Evans?
To,
Yeah,
'cause-
Captain America,
Exactly.
He plays
I
the
mean,
same character, even in his movies nowadays. Oh no, you know what? Chris Evans? No, he doesn't. But he's the kind of guy who is.
But speaking of
you
Captain
really like
America
him in his movies.
The upcoming movie, it's going to be interesting. I don't read comic books per se, but the upcoming movie of Civil War is going to be very fascinating. We're now getting bits and pieces and releases of all of the art and everything else, and now this is Robert Downey Jr.'s, I won't say swan song, but he's rumored that they want to go ahead and make an Iron Man 4. And
Really?
yes, and I'm not too thrilled with that. And I think the fact is,
The last one was okay.
the last one was a good ending. It ended well.
Okay.
He wants $150 million.
That's absurd.
That is absurd. And I think Marvel is going to say, okay, see ya, thanks for coming.
It's been crazy to think, because I remember when Iron Man first came out, and that was 2008.
Yes.
And it's 2016 now.
Yes.
He's been doing it a long time.
Right, but at the same time, Marvel is a genius in the simple fact of this. They were one of the first movie studios to put Easter eggs, or I call them Easter eggs, behind the end credits. And that actually teased the next film, whether it was Iron Man, whether it was Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever it was. Howard the Duck, by the way, was fabulous.
Yeah,
in
I remember that.
So, but nonetheless, they were the first ones to do that. And now I think what you're going to see coming up with Marvel, or DC rather, is they're going to try and do something like this.
They have to catch up.
They have to, because they're so behind the eight ball that if this movie doesn't do well, they are in serious trouble.
I think though, I think Suicide Squad is going to do much more for DC than the new Batman Superman movie.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and I know, Aaron, you're a huge fan of Suicide Squad, and you just watched the trailer this morning. What were your thoughts?
I couldn't believe how I couldn't believe that they gave us a 2 minutes preview of that movie. Honestly, I didn't think that they were going to give us that much to look at.
Yeah, we've seen a lot to look at.
But this one looks really good. And Will Smith, I can't believe that he's a superhero again in a movie. And for him, I think he's had enough practice to actually get somewhere where he's going to make this character look really good.
Yeah, well, actually, you're right. This is the second time he played Hancock.
Yeah,
Hancock. Which was,
And that was
an absolutely great movie. So it was like, okay.
One for the kids, definitely.
Definitely.
And
This is
now
a
you
lot
can take
darker.
a serious
What I
role.
think is kind of interesting about Suicide Squad is, and I kind of almost forgot for a while that Will Smith was even in it, because like you got Margot Robbie. Everyone's talking about Harley Quinn, and then obviously Jared Leto now is the new Joker. So
Yeah.
which I think is.
Does he
fun.
think? Do we think that he's going to do the greatest job at like being
I think
where like at levels of?
See, I don't know if you can compare
Equality,
because when everyone heard like, oh, Heath Ledger's going to play the Joker, like, oh, he'll never be Jack Nicholson. He wasn't Jack Nicholson. He was something completely his own.
Oh,
Exactly.
so he's going to make the character.
He's going to make the Joker his own thing. From what I've read too, and this is not this is speculation. He never came out of character.
Yeah.
When the director called him on set, he never came out of character.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see. I don't think it's going to have the effect that it had on Ledger, but I think that for that psyche to be in that state of mind for that long, you got to wonder. And I hope he takes like a kid's role as next, his next role, just to put everything off. But in all seriousness, I think
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto he's a hell of an actor. Okay, he won an Academy Award for Dallas Buyers Club. Okay, let's not discount his talent. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of Joker he plays. Though.
Exactly, because they didn't give anything away in the trailer with what he looks like now.
Right. Well, very little. But
very
little. What you got to understand too, and what you were talking about with Ledger, Nicholson was when Tim Burton did Batman in 1989. It was very comedic, or not comedic. That's the wrong word, but it had a very comic book feel to it. Okay, you had the buildings, you had this, you had that.
Well said.
But the fact is that he tried to make it like a comic book, and Nicholson was more of oh, ha 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 ha, type of, okay, not as.
But he was still
but,
kind of
okay,
a threatening gangster.
Right, he was a threatening gangster, okay? In 2008, I want to believe, it was The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And when Ledger took that, and even Nolan has said this today, that whole stretch of films was extremely, extremely dark. We are now seeing a darker Batman. We're seeing now a more chiseled and I'm going to kick your butt Batman, okay?
Where you couldn't see the same characters.
Exactly, where Michael Keaton was like, okay, punch, that's it.
Yeah.
That being said, Heath Ledger really dove into it, and unfortunately he's no longer with us. He did get an Oscar, but we've seen little tidbits that have come out, like his diary and other things, and that was extremely dark. The Jared Leto is going to be fascinating. I think it's going to be a combination of both. He's going to have that psychotic feel to it, but it's also going to be
his own twist.
Exactly. And I think that, how much we're going to see of him, well, he's really not, I don't know per se. I don't think he's technically a part of the squad. So we'll see. He'll definitely be in future films. I have no doubt about it. They're not going to kill the Joker. I mean, that's just not, it's like Lex Luthor and Superman. You just can't do that. It's arch nemesis. So
what do you guys think about the sort of path that superhero movies are taking, where they're very, and I guess you could say it started with Batman Returns, where it's not like a comic booky kind of world. Everything's kind of grounded in reality. It kind of looks like there's actual cities, actual buildings.
I think,
and also the tone is very darker.
I think that's necessary. And I really do.
Because do you want to see a Superman movie grounded in reality? Like, I say that in quotes. Like,
yeah, no.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Because I think the word you're looking for is gritty. And the word, and that is necessary because...
Which is something we've never seen Superman
Exactly.
do.
We saw Man of Steel comes out in 2013, and everybody said, okay, this is going to be good. And I remember sitting in the theater watching a movie, and I saw the trailer for it, and I went, oh my God, they're going to redo Superman again? And not knowing anything about it, it comes out the next year. Of course, I go to see it, and I went, wow, that was a pleasant surprise. Now, that being said, will it, grounded? I think it's necessary. I really do, because if you don't have it, then really...
I always think of, like, the Joel Schumacher Batman.
Okay, when you go to the movies...
It's like the complete opposite of, like, what Nolan did.
When you go to the movies... You want two things. Number one, you want to suspend belief. Okay, you're willing as a moviegoer to take that one giant leap. Okay, and the other thing is you want to be entertained. Okay, it doesn't matter whether two people are fighting or it's a romance. You want to be entertained. That being said, I think the entertainment factor is going to be the thing here. Will we be entertained by Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill knocking heads? And I think the answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And what you're seeing now from superhero movies and even movies in general is you're seeing these small little tidbits come out and these nuggets. And I think that was the one big thing with Batman versus Superman to Star Wars. You knew who the characters were, you knew who the villains were, you knew all of this. With Star Wars, it was kept completely in the dark.
Yeah.
And so, that being said, we'll see how it all translates. Getting back to the Oscars. So, you think Mad Max should win. Who do you think should win out of Best Director?
For Best Director, well, I guess the one movie that I thought was really good was, it was not the, let's see.
Well, so we've got Mad Max.
Yeah.
We've got The Revenant.
Then you know what? It was The Revenant that I was looking for.
Okay, yeah,
Revenant.
Yeah,
it's a hard. I can never. Pronounce
yeah. Okay, so, I'm sorry, Alexander, if I butchered.
And his last name too.
Yeah,
yeah.
This is our first one. Cut us some slack. No, but I think we all are in agreement that this is going to be a great movie, and is a great movie, and is going to get a lot of Oscars.
I've seen quality come from. I've honestly seen most of the trailers for these movies from the Oscars, but from The Revenant, just the way that I've been hearing about that movie, or the way that I've seen the quality of the shots, I know that they were shooting in natural light, and I think that was what kind of resonated for me the most. To know that because I work with a lot of media equipment and knowing how to light something, for them to use the natural light and for them to actually make this true story come to life using simply like the nature
Right.
telling their story. I think that was the coolest part.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio, I think he may have done this on his own accord, but apparently he was eating liver. Like he ate liver.
Yeah, there's
I wouldn't
rumors
doubt it.
about what the conditions were like and what he was doing.
I mean, I've read things that he nearly died 3 times, and so I mean, from freezing temperatures. I don't know. I mean, I could.
It seemed
I
like
doubt
a
it.
rough shoot
I mean,
in
I
general.
think
That's
it
why
was
I
a
think
rough
it was so
shoot.
cool.
Rough is an understatement, Nick.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those shoots that if you're a PA or if you're 6 months and go, why am I here?
Yeah.
And if I am here, I better be getting paid very well.
Or this movie better do well.
Exactly. Moving on. Best Actress. We have Brie Larson for Room, which I hear is outstanding. Which, by the way, a local resident here in Santa Clarita.
I think she should get it.
Okay. Jennifer Lawrence for Joy. Kate Blanchett for Carol. Charlotte Rampling for 45 years. And Saoirse Ronan.
What's 45 years? I've never even heard of that one.
Yes.
Kate Blanchett, I think she's great.
Ronan for Brooklyn. To me, and you're a Brie Larson fan, I take it. Do you know what? So you've seen Room?
I am actually seeing it this week.
Okay. So
But I've been reading a lot about it. It's been getting a lot of attention and press and media and stuff like that.
Okay, so if you don't know what Room is about this child that has never left their parents have basically put them in this room.
I heard that the child is also a great actor in this movie too.
And so finally the child and the parent escape. And so the child basically has to come out and experience what life is all about. And the parent wants the child to basically come out and say, and Brie Larson plays a mother, and she says, go out and experience life. And this child must go out on their own. I don't know how old they are. And basically they go out and they experience life and what it's like to play outside and go over to their friend's house. But they've never done this before. So these are all brand new things.
Yeah.
We've heard stories about this before in a much darker type of, about 2-3 years ago, there was a man in Cleveland who held
Ariel Castro.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who held a few women in his basement for almost 15 or 20 years.
My God.
And they eventually escaped, and he was eventually apprehended and now sitting in a jail cell. But so we've heard this story before, however, never from a child's point of view. And I think that's going to be a little bit fascinating because this child, as you were saying, is a very good actor. My personal pick, and I'm biased, I've seen it twice, is Joy.
Jennifer Lawrence?
I think Jennifer Lawrence is just... in my article, I called her the girl on fire. She has been, ever since The Hunger Games, when she was 20...
Well, did you see Winter's Bone? I think that was even before that.
Probably.
That was a great film.
But I really think her coming out party, she didn't really get recognized until The Hunger Games because it was the popularity of it. She took everybody by storm because I think a lot of people, when they heard The Hunger Games were coming to the big screen, they went, oh no, how are they going to ruin this? And when it was received so well, they went, oh, okay, who's this girl that we've never heard of? And now, an Oscar later for, I believe it was American Hustle, she won it, and it said, okay, now, and by the way, she's only 25 years old. Now, some of the best actresses in the world, okay, have never won 2 Oscars. Now, this is her second or third nomination in as many years.
Yeah.
And she's now in a string, just like Bradley Cooper was a few years back, where she won for Silver Linings Playbook. I stand corrected, it was Silver Linings Playbook, not American Hustle. She won for Silver Linings Playbook. She got nominated for American Hustle, and now she's nominated for Joy. And there is something, and I reference Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. They're not quite there yet, maybe 25 years from now, but those two have a chemistry that it's just, when you watch them on screen, you know. And I think that's one of the biggest things when you work with the same people over, and this is including directors too. When you work with the same people over and over and over again, you understand their nuances, their mannerisms, and how it's done. And once again, it's a true story. It's about the inventor of the Miracle Mop and her struggles and how she finally made it. And I should also go on to say there were some other outstanding performances in this film that really didn't get the recognition. Elizabeth Rome, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, if I just butchered your name. She was the blonde on Law and Order for several years, the ADA. And Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro is just and we can all agree with this. He is probably the best actor, one of the three best actors of this generation and the generation before. He's done over 100 films.
He still does a lot of work too.
And yes, and the thing is, we now are seeing him go back to dramas. Before, his very first film, comedic film, was Analyze This, and because he used to get typecast. Let's be honest.
Well, didn't he? And I'm blanking on the name of the film, and I can't remember, but it's a great movie. But what's the one with is it De Niro where he plays he wants to be like a late night stand-up comedian?
Yes.
God, what's the name of that
Raging
movie?
Bull. He did Raging Bull, where he was.
No, not Raging. Anyway, it's a very funny
yes,
film. I'll tell you about it later. Yeah.
Okay, but nonetheless, you're seeing him go back to dramatic roles now. For many years, his first film was Analyze This on the comedic side, and then he does Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, and then people go, whoa, this guy can do comedy too. I didn't know this. So finally, they said, okay, now that I've done a couple comedies, he's coming back to the dramas. He does American Hustle, he does Silver Linings Playbook, which, by the way, he got an Oscar nomination for, and he just finished up The Father and Joy, and it's like, wow. So I think that he's going, and he'll work as long as he wants to work, because he's one of those guys that just, Robert De Niro has been recognized by every acting academy out there. He's won the Getty Award. He's got Lifetime Achievement Awards. His mantle has to be absolutely plastered with awards, and plaques, just because of what he's done. But he's that good of an actor, and everybody loves watching him. So that's going to be very interesting to see.
Now, I know your best picture pick is The Revenant, right?
Yes.
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess.
Yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. It is The Revenant. I think the one problem with award shows today, this is my own personal opinion, we've come to a point with award shows that nobody seems to watch. The Oscars, the Super Bowl, and the Grammys are supposed to be the three top-rated shows in television every single year. And the Oscars has been declining, and it's not because of the host or whatever. It's because we as a viewing audience are tired, at least I am personally, I don't know your thoughts, about one movie winning 10 or 11 or 12 awards. We don't want to see the executive producers come up, or the writers come up, or the director come up, you just want to give them all of them, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't just say okay, because why have the award show then? To me, what are your thoughts? What are you guys' thoughts? I'm talking too much.
I tried watching the Oscars last year, and I'll be honest, it was just I couldn't sit through the whole thing. For me, it was easier. Well, number one, it's very long.
Yes.
But then number two, you start getting into these obscure, categories and awards for films that maybe I've never even heard of, or best sound editor for a foreign documentary.
Yes.
These very niche, specific things.
It would be nice. It would be nice if they got to explain why those awards were being given.
See, I just care about. For me, the only things that I find interesting are the best picture, best actor, best actress, and best director.
Exactly, the ones that you know about, and
best
maybe
screenplay
score
too.
Yeah.
Personally, best screenplay. I'm actually trying to become a screenplay writer. But best screenplay for me, adapted and original. And you're absolutely right. And see, the things the Academy has done over the last 4 or 5 years. First of all, upping it from 5 to 10 nominations, I think, is a joke. Okay. The fact is, when you nominate films that have absolutely zero chance, okay, to win, why do it? Because, it's just, to me, I understand that you're trying to fill nominations, but I'll give you a perfect example. Bridge of Spies, I've seen Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks, and speaking of Bridge of Spies, the man that got the
Spielberg, right?
Not Spielberg, but the man, he got Best Supporting Actor nomination. He was good as the spy, but he didn't deserve an Oscar nomination. Okay, there were several other.
Do you almost feel like that they're obligated to make this nomination because it's a Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks is a big movie?
And that's
I think they
part of it too.
favor Steven Spielberg.
Well, and we'll get to something that happened in a moment. But something like Brooklyn. Now, that's more of a smaller film, but I saw Bridge of Spies, and frankly, it didn't deserve a Best Picture nomination. I think they're just trying to make filler.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the contenders. Okay, and we're not. By the way, I should say something else. We're not even talking about Spotlight. Spotlight was an absolutely amazing film, and I've yet to see it. I'm going to go see it.
I have not heard
soon.
of that one.
Spotlight is the true story. Okay. And it's
is this one about the priest?
Yes. The Boston Globe uncovers the priest's
the sex
child
abuse
scandal, and this is Michael Keaton is the editor, I believe. But this is an absolutely amazing film. Mark Ruffalo gets nominated for Best Actor. He's kind of shot, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's going to win, but he's definitely got a shot. I think it's probably going to be either Tom Hardy or Ruffalo to win the Oscar, even though I said what I said. So yes, Spotlight, I think, is definitely a contender there. But that being said, I did see The Big Short. I've seen that twice. I thought it was amazing. And Christian Bale, he was just so good in all of the nuances and how another true story. And I know it's a recurring theme, but this is what, in all honesty, this is where Hollywood is going. Because what you have is, you already have a story, okay? All you need to do is put it down on paper, okay? And that is a big, big plus. You don't have to do half the work.
Yeah, and what I like about The Big Short is, aside from the great cast, and it's very, it's about the recent financial
housing market.
Slump.
Yeah, but what writer and director Adam McKay is known for writing on Saturday Night Live and working with Will Ferrell and doing things like Talladega Nights. But he's really shown him he's a very talented person.
And I have to say, The Big Short was a very comedic, taking pot shots at the industry, and they had every right to do. But it was I laughed several times during the film. That's like Joy. There are a lot of comedic moments in Joy, believe it or not. Even though it's supposed to be a drama, it's comedic.
Yeah.
And that actually leads me to something that bothers me about the Golden Globes, and that's this. We have two major categories with the Golden Globes. We have a dramatic role, and we have a musical and comedy role. Now, I don't understand this for the life of me, and maybe, the AFP can help me out here. That's American Foreign Press. But the fact is, and I haven't seen The Martian, but why are you putting that with a comedy? Is that not supposed to be somebody gets left on Mars? I know it's based on a book.
Yeah.
He gets left on Mars and they go back and try and get him. That's more of a drama to me.
I've heard that was a comedy, though.
No, and I don't know. I mean,
funny,
what do they consider a comedy, I guess, is my thing.
Also, how many musicals are being made
exactly.
these days? It's not like the
Les
50s.
Miserables was the last musical I know that was made.
Yeah.
And by the way, Anne Hathaway won an Oscar for that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I digress. But the other thing, too, is, and then you have Leonardo DiCaprio, who won for The Revenant, that he absolutely...
Revenant.
So, yes, this movie. So the fact is that, and usually the Globes are the prelude to the Oscar and who's going to win.
Yeah.
Now you have...
Where was Joy?
Where you have 5 actors here. I think personally you could have taken Redmond and trombone out and put Smith and the other one in, because I know Eddie Raymond won for The Theory of Everything last year, and that's supposed to be an outstanding film.
Yeah.
And he does good work in The Danish Girl, I'm sure.
He did.
But,
yes, he did.
You know, to me, and see, this is where the Academy, and this is something else that
Some people would.
I mean, I'm going to bring this up, and this is just a conspiracy. We are going to have possibly Spike Lee and Jada Pinkett Smith boycott the Oscars this
Well,
year.
I think Spike Lee even said he's like, I'm going to be, you know.
And
Because of the
so
diversity,
Yeah.
right?
there is absolutely zero diversity in
Was
this.
Straight Outta Compton nominated for anything?
No.
Because that was a great
I
movie.
think
That was-
I think its name got popped up, right?
It
I think it kinda
actually
got
did get a
snubbed,
lot
didn't
of
it?
publicity when the movie came out, and it was very good. I don't believe it got nominated for anything. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm sure. Now, mind you, when we're talking about this, we're only talking about maybe the 5 or 6 major categories.
Yeah.
There's 28, so I'm sure it did get nominated for
I saw
somewhere
its
down the
name in
round.
there.
But getting back to that, there's absolutely zero diversity in any one of these. And we're now having stars threaten to boycott the Oscars.
Is this because of a lack of? I don't know.
Lack
I don't
of
know
diversity.
But is there a lack of either black filmmakers making movies or Asian
I
filmmakers
think
making movies at the
it's
Academy?
more-
Are those films out there? Or the Academy doesn't recognize it because maybe the Academy is just this antiquated
Well, and
entity
that's
that
a lot of-
is not relevant anymore.
Well, I think that's a big thing too. Is you have Spielberg. I mean, I'm not one for race or anything. Politics are not my thing. However, I will say this: a lot of conspiracy theorists are going to say, "Well, the Jews make the Oscars, or Hollywood's run by Jewish people, and blah blah blah." Religion has nothing to do with it. Okay, I want to put that out there right now. Okay. The fact is, I think that. Do I think somebody like Will Smith should have gotten nominated for an Oscar? Absolutely. Why he didn't? I almost wish the Academy, because the Academy is made up of almost 5,000 members. And most of them are stars that, we know, like Tom Cruise and, Johnny Depp. But there are also ones that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish the Academy would come out and say, hey, look, this is why, because we haven't heard word one from the Academy of Arts and Sciences on this. Not one word, okay? But what we have heard are filmmakers and actors of color saying, look, why didn't we get nominated, okay? And so I think you need to, as an Academy, come out and say, even the president come out and say, look, this is why. These were the criteria. This is why it didn't get nominated. Because otherwise, if this happens next year or the year after, you're going to start to see a trend. And that trend could be very, very horrible.
Yeah,
for
I think
Hollywood.
I think we're reaching a point where people just. Does an Oscar nomination, is it still that big a deal at this point?
I think
Do
it is
people
to
care
some
about it?
people. Unless you're in the industry or you care and go to films like all three of us do, I think it's absolutely necessary. Because the fact is that we are the ones sitting here in these chairs, we are the ones that are driving the movies. And if we don't go to see those movies, Hollywood doesn't make their money. And I'm not talking about Star Wars. I'm talking about dramatic, because let's face it, most of these films in what we've been talking about here today are dramatic roles. How many comedies, okay, and I'm not talking about dramatic comedies, how many comedies are you seeing being nominated? None. So I think the fact that you're having that happen, if we don't go to the movies, then movies don't get made. So I think, to answer your question, I think the fact is they care, but they really don't care.
So you're saying the popularity of the movie itself could really influence the way that the Oscars get influenced next year?
Absolutely, because the bigger the movie and the more popular it is, the more you want to try and go. You want to go see it. I think that advertising and marketing has a lot to do with it, obviously. But when you see a movie, okay, and you see those commercials or those TV spots or the trailers, and you see them over and over and over, to me, I call it, and this is my term I'm using, I'm calling it saturation.
I think that's how these movies get.
What you end up getting is
introduced.
the first time you see a trailer or a spot, you go, I don't know, I really don't. By the 8th or 10th time you see that, you go, I want to see that movie. And that movie could be horrible.
Just like popular songs nowadays.
Horrible. And you go spend your $12.50 or $13 and you go, 2 hours later you walk out and say, why did I waste 2 hours of my life? It didn't make any sense. But because I kept seeing it over and over, I'm not going to say go this far, but it's almost like telling a lie. When you tell a lie to somebody enough, or yourself enough, you start to believe it. So if you say, I'm the greatest person in the world, well, you start to think that. That being said, I think it's the same thing with TV marketing.
So in terms of hype, if now we're moving forward into 2016, what are you guys looking forward to? Or are there any movies that you feel like are getting too hyped up that we've already seen too much of? That like maybe, because at least with Star Wars, they kept us in the dark for a good long time.
Right.
Now like Suicide Squad and Batman, we've seen a lot. So is the excitement still there? Are you still looking forward to that?
Okay. Well, I'll let you start. What are you excited to see? Give me 2 or 3 movies. You're
definitely Star Wars Rogue One.
Yes.
I'm definitely excited for that.
You have to wait a good long year for that.
No, it'll be out. Well, yeah, December.
Yeah,
this year.
December, almost a year.
Definitely Suicide Squad.
Me too. Me too.
Batman, I'm not super excited for, but I'll go see it. It does intrigue me. I am excited for it.
Okay.
It's not super high up on my list, though.
I think that. What about you, Aaron?
I'm honestly excited for the Suicide Squad to come out. And
I think everybody. I just need to jump in. I think everybody is dying to see this because.
No doubt.
Because it's not just Batman and Superman. Okay, we're now seeing all of these arch villains and everything else.
It's an aspect we
finally
haven't seen before.
come to light in a darker universe that maybe even Marvel will have. Okay,
and we can finally root for them.
Exactly, and so the fact is that I think, and now that we have actors we know about, okay, we have Jay Courtney, we've got Will Smith, we've got Maggie Roberts,
and she's tantalizing us.
Exactly,
it's just so
we have all of these
beautiful looking.
You know, we have all of these great actors. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think you're right, Nick. I think more people are wanting to go see Suicide Squad than Batman versus Superman because we've seen so much, okay? And what are your other...
Well, with Batman and Superman, I think that the way that they're doing it is they're introducing us to a Legion, right?
Right, you're absolutely right.
They have to have that as a separate movie or as a separate entity.
Right.
And then they also have Suicide Squad because they're introducing something that's so much more different than we've ever seen before. And I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that. But I guess the other one that I was thinking about was I'm interested to see how they're. I don't know if Grand Theft Auto is going to be like a stem off of the video game.
Yeah. Now, this is I've never heard. I'll be honest with you. This is breaking news to me. I didn't even know they were making a GTA movie. That could be fascinating because that's one of those movies that could get very, very, what's the word I'm trying to think? Adult, for lack of a better word.
But the way that I've seen these trailers for it, the way that it's said is that it's a sports professionals. They're sports professionals and they're liberating money.
Okay.
So
now,
they would have to be coming from a different aspect from the games.
Yeah.
But I mean, Grand Theft Auto by itself, I would think that it came somewhere from that video game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Series.
So I mean, that could be a very fast. I mean, unless we're talking about Robin Hood meets the X Games, I mean, seriously, trying to because, which by the way, off to a different topic, I have not seen Point Break, and I will not see that.
I will never see that movie
because, to me, I'm a fan of, and always will be a fan of the 1991 version with Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves.
What a fan!
Okay, okay. So I digress. But personally, I think there's probably, I think you're going to have 5, at least, I know 5, but my 3 top picks for this year, okay, have got to be number 3, Captain America Civil War. I think that in itself, now, I mean, we have Deadpool coming out in about a month.
Deadpool, I completely forgot about Deadpool.
And,
Yes.
Deadpool, I think
Which is a Marvel's movie, right?
Yes. I think everybody is now.
But it's going to be rated R.
Yeah, ecstatic. Well, how is that going to? Let me ask you guys. How do you think that's going to go over?
I think it's going to go over fine. I think it's what the fans want.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I want to see it.
I've been waiting for it to finally.
I don't
want
to see a watered down Deadpool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
and I think that's going to be very fun. If we all know that Marvel has a very interesting way of poking fun. You know, they may not drop F-bombs and whatever else, but they'll show you a finger just to get the point across, okay, which is the same effect. That being said, Deadpool is now coming out in about a month. That's going to be fun. That's going to continue the Marvel Universe. But moreover than that, so you've got Captain America Civil War, which is coming out, I think, in June or July. That's going to be really fun because we're going to have Captain America and Iron Man going at it. And we're also going to be able to see a new Avengers, which I'm not too thrilled about, but we'll see. I'll reserve my judgment for that.
Divergent 3 is coming out too.
Yes.
And the only reason why I bring that one up is because The Hunger Games is nearly at an end, or it is at an end now.
It's at an end.
It's just that in Divergent, we have a female character who is portraying this this lead as the heroine.
And something else, that's a very good point you bring up, Aaron, because something in Hollywood that we're not seeing enough is female leads. Mm-hmm. And I know Jennifer Lawrence is one of the very few. As a matter of fact, she just came out fairly recently, a few months ago, as a matter of fact, and demanded Hollywood that women get paid as equal as men, as they should. I mean, I think, with all the money they rake in, with all the budgets they have, they should.
Yeah, equality.
That being
everyone.
said, Charlene Woodley, I believe is her name, she's the lead character there. You also have a few others that, teen movies, for lack of a better word. Teen's not the right word. Young adult movies that are getting to be franchises. I know a new Maze Runner is coming out.
Oh, really?
So there are a few other leads with women that are extremely important, and I think they need to keep that trend going because Hollywood is not just driven by men. Let's face it. And so you need to have that leading lady, whoever it is. Well,
we got that with this new Star Wars,
yes,
too. We had
we
Daisy
did.
Ridley.
I think that was extremely important, too.
You're right.
So, whether it's, Daisy Ridley or Woodley or whoever it is, you need to have those female leads in there. That's an outstanding point. The other thing, too, is so we have Captain America. I think number 2 on my list is probably, X-Men. Okay.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Okay.
Is that coming out?
You now got a new X-Men, and I thought the best scene in that trailer was probably the last shot, where you see him roll in, the doors open, and you saw half of his face lit and half of his face dark, but he's bald. He's now Charles Xavier, and I remember this. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't too thrilled with Days of Futures Past, but I said, okay.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was good, but it wasn't like, oh my God. I think this one has a chance with Apocalypse to be amazing. I think Michael Fassbender is going to be in it. Jennifer Lawrence is coming back.
Oscar Isaac.
Is Mystique. So you have a lot of other, I believe this might be Hugh Jackman's last role as Wolverine. I could be wrong about that. But nonetheless, and of course, the end of March 25th, Batman versus Superman. I think
that soon, huh? In March?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, we're only 2 months. We're only 2 months away from this. I think this movie has the serious potential of not doing Star Wars numbers because I don't think anybody will touch $1 billion domestic, but I do think this movie is going to transcend. And
they're hoping on that. I think that's why
they are hoping.
So early in the year.
And it's I digress a little bit because it's funny. Warner Brothers is actually in a lawsuit, believe it or not, with the WWE. And so they're suing the WWE for, and I've read up on this too, by the way. This isn't speculation. They are suing the WWE because one of their characters resembles Superman too much. Okay? And they are doing this character does what's known as the Superman punch. And he jumps up and he punches the guy and whatever else. But
how can you help that?
And see, Warner Brothers says, that's a trademark. Well, here's my question. Number one, why now? Because he's been around for 3 or 4 years. I think they're trying to cover their bases, to be all honest. Okay, this is a huge flop. But number two, why aren't you going after the UFC? This is used all the time in the UFC, and Dana Stone or Dana White is not getting even remotely touched. So, Warner Brothers, what are you doing? Do you just want the publicity? You're getting enough of it with, Superman versus Batman.
By that logic, it sounds like that.
I don't get it. I digress, though. I think this movie has the potential to do $500 million domestic. And you say, well, what? Yeah, I really do. Because this movie has been in the works for years. We finally saw the first couple of pieces of footage a year ago, and everybody was licking their chops. As we get closer and closer and closer, and I can't say any of the footage, but if you watched last night's DC Legends of Tomorrow with Kevin Smith, you saw all the new footage and everything else. Everybody's like, wow. And in one side note, I gotta say, we actually saw a little bit of footage of Wonder Woman last night.
Just a little, right?
Yeah, just a little, but enough to go, and make you think. I think Gal Gadot is going to be amazing. I think, she's mostly known for her Fast and Furious roles, but I think this is going to be her first role in which she comes out and really makes a statement. And because she is being set up for the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, which, by the way, we're now getting not only Batman, not only Superman, not only Wonder Woman, but from what I understand, Aquaman's going to be in it.
Yep.
Okay? The Flash is going to be in it. And eventually they want to try and set up something with a Green Lantern. So, and then in 2017, we're going to get the Justice League. And so, but my personal feeling is Marvel is so ahead of the curve right now and so ahead of the game, we're going to have them come out with their
Batman versus Superman.
They're going to come out with Avengers Infinity War Part 1.
Oh.
And I think that
Marvel,
is going to be huge. And you're going to see, I think the problem there you're going to see is there's going to be too many characters. And then the next year Part 2 comes out. So I don't know if DC, I don't think they're going to try and catch up, but they want to get to a point where they're almost neck and neck.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be fascinating just to see.
So you think that Marvel's on their way down?
No,
right now?
No. I think as long as Marvel continues to put movies out on a consistent 6 to 8 month basis, you're going to see them continue to do well. We're all going to go see Deadpool, and it's going to do fabulous, okay? I'm waiting for the end credits to see what the end credits are, frankly. But I think it's going to, I think it's going to be very fascinating to see how do these universes all collide as far as Marvel? Because you're going to have all of these different players come back in, and by the way, I can't think of his name. What is the bad guy's name? Josh Brolin's character?
In which film?
The Avengers.
Oh God, Thanos.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now you see the new Thanos, okay, voiced by Josh Brolin, okay, and it's going to, one of the last clips you saw was, him putting the glove on, and so now he's ready to go to war, and so before he can go to war with them, there has to be a war with Captain America and Iron Man, and how that whole thing is going to play out, we'll find out in the summer. It's going to be fascinating.
I think moving forward into this year, I think we're in a very good time for movies.
Absolutely. I think Hollywood is not, as much as Hollywood is taking criticism, Hollywood has been making billions and billions and billions of, it made $1.8 billion last year. And that, to me, you want to make a $200 million movie, go for it. But I think the thing that Hollywood has done most is really feed us little tidbits and keep our mouth watering. Because we don't want to be sitting down and saying, well, what's this movie doing or what's that movie doing? You have movies, they keep throwing art out there, they keep showing you, little 30-second clips and go, oh, wow, I can't wait for this. And that's how they hook the viewer. And they hook people and say, okay. And as we get closer to these premieres down the road, we're going to see these movies. You're going to see more TV spots. You're going to see more advertising. And I got to be honest with you. If Warner Brothers does not put a full 60-second spot out, and I say 60 because it's 2.5 hours, or a new 60-second trailer for Batman vs. Superman during the Super Bowl, they're fools. Mm-hmm. They are fools. Because
they will,
and they should, because this is a time now where it's only 3 weeks or a month away, and we've got to get. That's when things go up really high gear. Just speaking of movie trailers, what other movies do you think we're going to see? I know we got to wrap this up soon, but what do you think movie trailer wise we're going to see during the Super Bowl? Because let's face it, that's the next big event.
I think, and I didn't even know that this was being made, but you remember the movie Cloverfield?
Yes.
There's a sequel to that.
Really?
And John Goodman's in it. And I saw it on YouTube the other day. Well, and it was already on YouTube, so maybe they won't play it during the Super Bowl, but I was like, when the hell did they make this movie?
Yeah.
It's kind of slipped under the radar. And it's not like I don't even know if I'm going to go see it. Cloverfield was an enjoyable film.
It was good. I think it was more of a... I think it was definitely one of the first movies of its time, so, because of the way it was filmed.
Yeah.
But...
it was intriguing because, and I haven't seen Cloverfield, but from what I understand, you didn't see the monster until about halfway or 2/3 of the way through the film.
I was okay with watching it at home.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, suspense. It's like Godzilla. You see Godzilla and you hear about Godzilla, but you don't see him. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, that was a
so
problem
I
too.
think that was the thing. Now, to be making a sequel, I'll be fascinated to see how that does.
Mm-hmm. Sequels with those kind of movies.
So what are you excited during the Super Bowl for?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't know if this could happen, but Ghostbusters is coming out with a new movie.
Oh yeah, I do.
Ghostbusters, and you know, this is when we talk about female leads.
All hilarious actresses, by the way.
Absolutely, drop dead, hilarious, funny as could be actors.
And I don't know if they're going to be doing it either, but Allison looking through the looking glass.
Yes, and Johnny. Speaking of Johnny Depp, in another one of his roles, he's coming back as the Mad Hatter. Mm-hmm. It's just a fabulous. There are two fabulous movies you bring up. Let me work on Ghostbusters real quick. So,
sure.
Melissa McCarthy, who we all know, is hilarious.
Very funny, yeah.
And so she's going to be in there with Kristen Wiig and a few others. And so that, when you talk about female leads, there you go. That's a perennial one. And I think a lot of people, too, were like, wait a minute. Ghostbusters female? What about Dan Aykroyd? Now, I'm very curious to see it. One of the things I hope they do...
I haven't seen a trailer for it yet.
Well, yeah. One of the things I'm hoping they do is give Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray...
some sort of cameo? Or
exactly. Give him a cameo
I heard
of some
that. Bill
sort.
Murray's
passing of the torch.
Yes. I think that would be hilarious as well as good.
There's no way they couldn't have Bill Murray go back into it.
So... We don't have Harold Ramis anymore, but those two I think would be quality. And Alice in Wonderland, like I said, Johnny Depp is now reprising his role as the Mad Hatter. I think that's going to be, and let's face it, this isn't your run-of-the-mill PG rating. This is a PG-13 Alice in Wonderland. It's a little dark, okay? This is going to be a very fascinating thing to see how Tim Burton, and he is coming back to direct, how he's going to do, because we haven't seen him in a few years. And
I think Frankenweenie was his last one, which I thought was a great movie.
And it is,
I didn't get to see that one.
It was good fun.
you're talking about what, 3-4 years? How is this going to play out? I mean, I think Allison will look. He's in great hands with Johnny Depp. Okay, no doubt. But we'll see how things progress. So, to your point, Nick, we are in great hands with Hollywood, and I think
In this year.
year. And so I think we should wrap this first podcast.
Yeah,
up.
it's funny when before we started this, we were kind of concerned that we wouldn't be able to make it through an hour, and I think we have
definitely
well surpassed that
well,
hour.
I think there's going to be a part 1 and 2 on here.
Yeah.
I know. In all honesty, that's probably a very good idea.
Any last thoughts?
Last thoughts. I'm excited. I'm excited not only for Hollywood. I'm excited for this. I've been looking forward to this day for a long, long time. And like I said, I want to thank the guys from USA Today because, you guys, this is me talking to you now personally. You guys, I listened to this podcast, The Mothership, and I've been trying to think of a name for this, and I finally did think of one, which I'll leave on the down low for the time being. But you guys have really inspired me. I read all of your stuff. I listen to The Mothership weekly. And hopefully next week or the week after, we can have our other participant come in, Jazz Payat. So we will have 4 here. We're going to be a little crowded, but still, it will work. But, so like I said, I want to say thank you. And, by the way, this is going to be put on SoundCloud, so if you guys want to listen to it, you're more than welcome. But, so thank you again. All right, so we're going to wrap it up, and we will. So we're going to try and put these out on an every week basis, and because we have busy schedules, we will find time, and trust me, this is the first one. It's not going to be as long, but nonetheless. So. All right, I just want to say thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes,
So
we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time. 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 All right, we'll see you next.